On the question of whether people care about privacy, I remember really vividly when Ed and I were in Hong Kong before we started reporting these stories. We spent a lot of time talking about what the likely outcome of the reporting would be. And we really had no idea what it would be. And I remember, because it struck me so much, Ed at one point saying, I don't have any fears about what's about to happen in terms of what gets done to me, about going to prison. And it was clear that he meant that. And he said, the only fear that I really have is that we do this reporting and we unveil this to the world and people just sort of shrug and say, well, I assume the government was doing that, or I don't really care that they were doing that. And that it would be a 1 or 2 day story and then people would forget about it and go about their lives. And of course, that's exactly what did not happen. It became this enormous, incredibly consuming worldwide story, not just in the United States, but in dozens of countries on multiple continents around the world, precisely because people were so angry and offended at the intrusion into their privacy, including people who might have said in the past, I don't really care. But maybe the best evidence of all about how much people care about privacy is the behavioral change in Silicon Valley companies, the biggest ones, Yahoo and Facebook and Apple and Google and Microsoft. When I first read the archive that Ed gave me, one of the things that struck me the most was what full-scale collaborators these companies were in the surveillance state that the NSA had created. They were not only complying, there's a helpful chart from Ed that has just magically popped up, all the companies that were part of the prison program and when they joined. And it includes essentially every leading company in Silicon Valley. And they not only cooperated to the extent the law required, but even way beyond that. There were documents about how Microsoft would meet with the NSA to help them build backdoors into Skype at the same time that they were promising the public that Skype was impenetrable. And the reason they were such full-scale collaborators is because they were doing it completely in the dark and no one knew they were doing it, and therefore there was no cost. Once we were able to shine a light on what these companies were doing and the full-scale partnership they had created with the government, all of that changed completely. And it didn't change because these companies decided suddenly that they care about your privacy. They still don't care about your privacy. But what changed is their fear that if they were perceived as being collaborators with the NSA, that they would lose the current generation or the next generation of internet users to social media companies in Korea or Brazil or Germany who would be able to say, don't give your data to Facebook and Apple because they'll give it to the NSA, give it to us instead. And so whatever you want to say about these companies, one thing they know is their own self-interest and the pressures of their customer base. And they knew that it was really imperative that they demonstrate to the public that they actually are willing to safeguard people's privacy, even if it means standing up to the FBI, refusing, even in a case like San Bernardino, to build a backdoor into iPhones, even if it meant enduring being called aiders and abettors of ISIS or having blood on their hands as a result of helping terrorists hide their communication. All the things these companies have endured and are enduring, not because they're suddenly privacy activists, but because they know that tens of millions of people around the world care deeply about their privacy and won't use these companies if they think their privacy is going to be compromised. That is the best evidence of all to answer the question, do people care about their privacy?